Marla, look at me. I'm really okay. Trust me.
Predictably, numerous antagonists in horror films grapple with severe mental illnesses, disorders, or physical ailments that induce peculiar behavior.
What? No, Val, please, please! No!
Transforming into monstrous entities, they perpetrate heinous acts on unsuspecting victims, stalking, murdering, raping, molesting, and bullying their prey. This vicious cycle engenders a pattern of torment, suffering, madness, and criminality.
You are different from the rest.
Wherein the original victims metamorphose into victimizers, often targeting those who happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The repulsive nature of their actions sometimes leads to confusion, with observers likening their deeds to the acts of demonic beings, immortal boogeymen, mutants, ghosts, or even the devil himself. While these films occasionally entertain the prospect of both supernatural and natural explanations for the depicted events, medical science generally attributes them to a singular cause, mental illness. Whether afflicting the movie's villain or victim, akin to Stephen King's monstrous creation, It, mental illness manifests in various horrifying and dreadful forms. Number 10. Michael Myers in Laurie Strode. Examining mentally disturbed characters in horror films from a psychiatric standpoint often reveals significant inaccuracies, a point emphasized in Professor Anthony Tobia's Red Rum course at Rutgers University. Despite this, Tobia encourages students to watch films like Psycho 1960, Halloween 1978, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 critically, urging them to go beyond the surface narratives and focus on abstract and symbolic elements relevant to discussions on a broad spectrum of mental illnesses. Analyzing Halloween's Michael Myers, the class associates his actions, particularly the murder of his sister Judith, with conversion disorder, evident in his post-murder inability to speak. They also identify traits of voyeurism and autism in his character. As Myers escapes from a mental hospital to pursue his other sister, Laurie Strode, the class suggests that Laurie too experiences stress, later revealed to be the same illness as her brother, according to her therapist in Halloween 2, 1981. However, the clarity of this diagnosis remains uncertain, as Laurie does not exhibit the specific conditions attributed to Michael. The therapist's mention of Michael being pure evil, as diagnosed by his psychiatrist, Sam Loomis, adds complexity to the analysis. This characterization, though not strictly aligned with the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM, prompts further exploration into the intricacies of mental disorders depicted in horror cinema. Number 9.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans.
Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling. Dr. Glenn O. Gabbard's insights into Hannibal Lecter, derived from Thomas Harris's novels, extend their relevance to the film adaptation, as the cinematic franchise, centering around Lecter and FBI agent Clarice Starling, is built upon Harris's literary works. Gabbard, while acknowledging the self-contradictory psychology in Hannibal 1999, questions the ambivalence in Harris's portrayal of psychiatry, contemplating whether sophisticated readers accept the depiction of a hardcore psychopath with enduring and loving attachments to internal objects. Despite this, Gabbard asserts that Lecter is intended to embody a psychopathic character. Kaylor Jones, a psychology and counseling upper division student at Grand Canyon University, aligns Lecter with antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, synonymous with psychopathy and sociopathy in certain contexts. Describing ASPD as a remorseless, pervasive disregard for others, Jones notes Lecter's charismatic and charming yet manipulative nature, emphasizing his ability to switch off empathy at will. While psychology and psychiatry support Harris's portrayal of Lecter, the focus shifts to Clarice Starling in the CBS television series Clarice 2021, set a year after Buffalo Bill's murders. The series delves into Starling's struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, stemming from her encounter with Lecter and childhood trauma, specifically the haunting memories of lambs being slaughtered on her relative's Montana farm, leaving her with enduring nightmares. Number 8. Freddy Krueger and Nancy Thompson. In Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984, set in Springwood, Ohio, teenager Nancy Thompson and her high school friends face the stalking menace of Freddy Krueger, who murders some of them. Krueger's motivation involves both revenge and a disturbing pedophilic disorder, as indicated by the sexual nature of his victims' murders in their beds. Dr. Tobia notes a complication involving Nancy's mother, Marge, suggesting a past affair with Krueger. Despite Krueger's other child killings, he spares Nancy, deeming her special, possibly linked to Marge's intimate connection with him. Marge's peculiar behavior, preserving Krueger's hat and glove, hints at more than a child killer. Her alcoholism further complicates matters, as she conceals the truth about the adult's murder of Krueger until it becomes unavoidable. Nancy, during her dreams, intuits the reality, symbolizing the recovery of lost memories and her confinement in Krueger's basement. Dr. Tobia identifies Nancy's psychological condition as nightmare disorder (ND), characterized by recurring terrifying dreams. The film also serves as a metaphor for narcolepsy, marked by hallucinations, with the parents' vengeful act reflecting the genetic aspect of the teen's affliction. Tobia concludes that A Nightmare on Elm Street delves into more than a sleep disorder, shedding light on Nancy's probable PTSD and her history as a victim of childhood sexual abuse. Number 7.
The hell are you doing in my house?
Leatherface and Sally Hardesty. In the 2003 remake of Tobe Hooper's classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, the antagonist, is portrayed as suffering from neurodegeneration. The film is ambiguous about the specific type of disease, possibly due to the complexity of the term even among medical experts. Leatherface's condition might lead to complications, such as neoplasm, edema, hemorrhage, and trauma of the nervous system. His diagnosis at the age of 12 is unusual, considering that older individuals are generally at a higher risk than younger ones. Leatherface's physical condition is linked to the relentless bullying he faced during childhood, due to his disfigurement and skin disease. Wearing a small leather mask to hide his face became a coping mechanism, persisting into adulthood. The impact of Leatherface's crimes on victims, particularly final girl Sally Hardesty, is profound. Following her escape in the original film, Hardesty's mental state deteriorates, leading to catatonia. The uncertainty surrounding her fate is influenced by the franchise's loose continuity across films, depicting her death, survival as a hospital patient, or spending decades in an insane asylum. Catatonia, a recognized neuropsychiatric syndrome, involves abnormalities in motor behaviors and can manifest in various forms, from mutism and posturing to severe abnormalities in autonomic functions. Number 6.
Take me. Come into me.
Regan, MacNeil, and Father Karras. In crafting The Exorcist, writer William Peter Blatty meticulously examines Regan MacNeil's purported demonic possession through the lens of medical experts before allowing priests to perform an exorcism. Neurologist Susan O'Sullivan, MD, suggests the preteen symptoms could be psychosomatic, covering a range from tremors to speech impairments due to distress. Blatty proposes the possibility of demonic influence, suggesting that Regan's fragile mental state might make her susceptible. In the novel, the doctors diagnose somnambuliform possession, wherein conflict or guilt induces the delusion of an alien spirit invading the patient's body. The movie, mirroring the novel, explores medical explanations for Regan's condition. Despite unusual physical actions, tests reveal nothing abnormal. Enter Father Lancaster Marion and Father Damien Karras. While Marion's experience is cut short, Karras, wrestling with personal guilt over his mother's death, confronts the demon. Sacrificing himself, Karras succeeds in saving Regan, accepting the demon's offer to trade places with her. Number 5. Annaliese Michel and Fathers Arnold Renz and Ernst Alt. Annaliese Michel's life took a nightmarish turn when she believed she was possessed by Adolf Hitler and Lucifer. Displaying disturbing behaviors, she licked her urine, entered trances, and experienced unusual physical changes. Over 18 months and 67 exorcism rites later, Michel succumbed to malnutrition in 1967 at the age of 23 in Klingenberg, Germany. Her harrowing experiences gained global attention through the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose 2005, depicting the recordings of extensive exorcism sessions, led by Fathers Arnold Renz and Ernst Alt. The trial that followed convicted the exorcists of negligent homicide, attributing Michel's tragic fate to a lack of medical attention, exacerbated by her parents' strict religious upbringing and her decision to halt epilepsy medication. Father Renz, 67, and Father Alt, 40, faced suspended prison sentences and the obligation to cover legal costs. The court emphasized Michel's dire condition as a clear indicator for medical intervention. Number 4.
Little pigs, let me come in.
Jack Torrance and Wendy Torrance. Was Jack Torrance afflicted by paranoid schizophrenia? Both in Stephen King's 1997 novel, The Shining, and Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film adaptation, Torrance, the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, demonstrates isolation, creativity, delusions, and hallucinations. Believing he's targeted by malign influences, including demons and ghosts, Torrance experiences hallucinations, engaging all 5 senses. Had Wendy acknowledged her husband's issues and sought psychiatric help, a combination of drug treatment, psychological therapy, and bibliotherapy might have been beneficial. Wendy, along with her son Danny, also becomes a victim of Torrance's alcoholism and temper, leading to an accidental injury. Torrance's coping mechanisms, learned from his father, involve alcohol and violence. In the sequel, Dr. Sleep, exploring Danny's trauma, he mirrors his father's struggles, becoming an alcoholic drifter suffering from PTSD, epitomizing emptiness and instability in his life. Number 3. Norman Bates and Marion Crane. Norman Bates, the infamous serial killer, in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, adapted from Robert Bloch's 1959 novel, grapples with dissociative identity disorder and a coexisting voyeurism disorder. His unsettling tale, well known to horror enthusiasts, unfolds as Bates, following his mother's demise, dons her attire and assumes her persona in his mind, effectively becoming her. His mother, desiring undivided attention, vehemently disapproves of any attempts by Bates to pursue romantic relationships. When Marion Crane, a motel tenant, enters the scene with stolen money, Mother emerges, brutally stabbing her during a shower. The private detective searching for Crane also falls victim to Mother's violence. Critically, the portrayal of mentally ill characters as inherently violent, as discussed in the Harvard Political Review, perpetuates harmful stereotypes, fueling stigma against the mentally ill and fostering misguided fear among the public, an opinion shared by Dr. Gene Barrison, a Harvard Medical School psychiatry professor. Number 2. Andrew Laeddis and Edward Teddy Daniels. The film adaptation of Dennis Lehane's 2003 novel Shutter Island 2010 captivates audiences with its gripping plot twists, shrouding everything in suspense and deception. U.S. Marshal Edward Teddy Daniels embarks on a mission to locate a missing patient from an insane asylum, only for the narrative to take a turn, revealing the facility as a sinister torture chamber. In the movie's final act, it becomes evident that the true focus is Teddy's own psychosis. As a World War II veteran grappling with significant trauma, Teddy employs coping mechanisms that lead him down a destructive path of alcoholism and workaholism. Despite functioning at a high level, he succumbs to delusional disorder stemming from the tragic event of killing his bipolar wife Dolores, who drowned their 3 children. Teddy's extreme delusions, portraying him as a prisoner who believes he's free, a patient who perceives himself as well, and a killer in pursuit of truth, propelled the movie's narrative. However, this depiction of mental illness is criticized by Jeremy Kleiman, Psy.D., as perpetuating an outdated medical model that portrays mental health issues as a pervasive and irreversible psychic virus. Number 1.
Rosemary, go back to bed. You know you're not supposed to be up and around.
Rosemary Woodhouse and Damien Thorne. In the 1968 film Rosemary's Baby, adapted from Ira Levin's 1967 novel, Rosemary Woodhouse encounters disturbing events after moving into a New York City apartment linked to murder and cannibalism rumors. Rosemary becomes pregnant after a sexual assault by a demonic presence, leading her to believe she carries the devil's child. The question arises, is Rosemary truly a victim of a supernatural encounter?
You could hear them singing through the wall. Guy, my husband, Guy, said it was Dr. Shand, one of these people, playing a recorder.
Or is she experiencing postpartum psychosis, a rare condition resembling an overpresentation of bipolar affective disorder, BAD, within 2 to 4 weeks of childbirth? From a psychological perspective, Rosemary is not only psychotic, but also delusional, firmly convinced that her baby is Satan's offspring. Her hallucinations may be influenced by the poison herbs administered by her husband Guy and his family. While Rosemary's Baby appears to be a victim of deceit and his mother's psychosis, BAD, and delusions, the film concludes with the newborn, whose fate remains undisclosed, exhibiting brown, feral-looking eyes with slit-like pupils.